What's up guys, welcome to the video where I show you guys my method and how I take notes to memorize and encode as much information that I can extract from this video tutorial right here easily and efficiently without feeling cognitively overloaded or stressed out. Memorizing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu techniques is hard and complex, so I made it easier for myself because I believe the more knowledge that I am able to memorize and retain effectively, the more efficient and enriching it becomes to build skill from that knowledge by using kinesthetic learning later on when I get the chance to train at my gym. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kinesthetic learning is all about learning through movement and hands-on practice. So instead of just watching someone demonstrate a technique or listening to instructions, you learn by physically drilling moves, rolling with a partner, and feeling how your body and your opponent body reacts. This type of learning helps build muscle memory, improves timing, and develops an intuitive understanding of techniques through repetition and real-life applications during sparring. So whatever type of kinesthetic learning or methods there are in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, whether it is ecological or the traditional way of training, I believe my method can make the experience to do them even more efficient and enriching thing to do. Back when I was a beginner grappler, doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu every time was a constant struggle because I had constant memory problems. So I at least want to get over that bad type of struggle of always forgetting and having memory fog when it comes to learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu techniques and start having a good type of struggle of finally reaching to a point of having enough foundational knowledge built to actually have fun and improve from my struggles that I may face on the mats. I believe acquiring knowledge is the first step to developing skill. The second step is knowledge with practice comes skill. And I use my method to help me build my knowledge faster and easier so that I can have more time, energy, and enjoyment to put to practice to develop the skill more efficiently for myself. Think of it like learning a language. Immersion is key, but having a structured way to remember the vocabulary effectively helps make speaking and adapting to real conversations easier. I am hoping my method can help practitioners retain techniques more effectively so that they can spend more time and energy on execution rather than struggle to remember. To get the full detail on everything about my method, I have a 4-hour video explaining everything about it, my reasons for making it, how it works, and all about the learning methods that I use and combine together to create this one method to memorize Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu techniques easy and convenient. So check it out. But overall, I consider my method to be a study tool to help me memorize Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu techniques anytime and anywhere I want without needing to drill or show up to my gym. Show me a technique and I'll show you guys how I memorize it. For this video, I'll be checking out the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu moves armbar from guard by Danaher, and I'll try to memorize everything I can from it. Here I have my Anki app open, ready to start my method. I already have the front of the card filled out with the source and name. Of course, the source is YouTube, channel is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Fanatics, and the name is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu moves armbar from guard by Danaher. And it's time to work on the back of the card where I start my process. For this process, I'll be using two different types of learning methods called chunking and the pattern method, where first I break the large complex information that I am confronted with in this video tutorial right here into more smaller simple pieces by using the chunking method. And then second, arrange those pieces into a different form where it becomes like a puzzle for my brain to naturally solve by using the pattern method. I find that doing these two different types of things of breaking the large complex information into simple ideas and then turning those simple ideas into questions for my brain to figure out by putting all the pieces back together to get to the answer, I find it really helps me memorize Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu techniques like crazy. The idea for this type of memorization process that I do is that it gets me constantly thinking and making connections throughout the whole time I do it. Because the more I can get my brain to think and make connections with the complex grappling material of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu techniques, the more likely I'm able to convince my brain to deem them valuable and have a higher chance for them to enter my long-term memory much faster and easier. That I don't feel stressed out or confused at the end of the process, that whatever grappling knowledge I just threw inside my head for the first time will stay long-term and will not be easily forgettable. Anyways, let's get started. So, like always, I start with the situational block. And this is my first situation 1. And let's start the video.
We're looking at armbars, Jujigatami, from guard position. One of the absolute most important elements when you're entering into the Jujigatami is the relationship between your opponent's head and elbow and your hip. Okay, those three things, his head, his elbow, and your hip, will determine how successful you are at getting into Jujigatami from bottom position. Let's have a look at some of the keynote themes that I want you to become expert at as we work here. We've got a training partner here in a closed guard situation.
Okay. Timestamp is 30. And like I always say, timestamps are important to add at the end of the video, at the end of the line of code. They are basically used as reference, just in case if the line of code that I wrote is too hard to decipher, or that I completely forgot what it means during the reviewing process. This way I can save some time and energy looking for the part that I'm missing more easily. Okay, let's see. So we're looking at this, we're starting on guard. So this is how I would break the information down. So we'll start with step 1 to start off the first line of code. And let's see, to make this in more of a simple context approach for the brain to work with, I would say, okay, LP for low position plus go around plus keep safe plus go around plus keep safe. And since it's all closed, these legs are crossing each other to restrain my opponent. I might say equals close the position plus RES for restrain. And what else?
Okay, you go.
Okay. So let me explain what I just wrote. Again, situational blocks are used as a way to indicate different types of scenarios and applications that a technique can be used in the video tutorial. The first line of code, so as you can see, this is how I would kind of give myself hints for my brain to work with to kind of like help the thinking and visualization know what I'm doing. So this is how I would interpret bottom guard. So again, as you guys know, these are blocks. This is what I call blocks. And blocks are basically abbreviations that convey movement, imagination, signifiers, and any ideas I can use to relate and turn complex information into simple ideas. The best way to use the blocks is not to make them too specific or detailed, but more in a way cryptic that only gives enough clues to get the brain thinking to logically guess and connect it with the correct way of thinking that fits the context of the technique being demonstrated in the video tutorial. Think of it like this. Have you ever played that game where you have a word or picture above your forehead? You don't know what the word or picture is, so you rely on the other players to give you hints to figure it out. So if someone had a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu technique called Kimura from side mount, how would you describe or hint it to them without being too obvious or descriptive? Your goal is to constantly get them thinking and making connections until they finally figure out the answer on their own. That's basically what I'm doing to myself when I make these blocks to be used for coding a technique. I'm only giving myself enough information to nudge my thinking into the right direction until it leads me to the answer. And this is how I write it. And to start the code, I use the block step to start writing the code.
Go to Jiu-Jitsu 101 on YouTube and you'll see armbars typically demonstrated with something like this. Okay, a 2-on-1 grip where I take an over grip on my training partner's elbow, put a hand on my training partner's wrist, and we work from here. Now in a beginner's class, this is just fine because your opponent doesn't know enough to escape. But at advanced levels, this is not going to cut it because there is no control of my opponent's head.
Okay. All right. So let's see.
Armbars typically demonstrated with something.
Okay, 38. I'm sorry, I'm just on an awkward angle. My monitor's kind of facing awkwardly to the side, and I'm having a little struggle trying to type this out while keeping distance from my computer. Anyways, so this timestamp, as he's explaining the very common thing, the very basic way that people start off learning how to do arm bars, is that they would have that two on one grip from one arm to hold down the arm to start attacking the arm. So this is how I would probably describe as. First, I'm gonna add another situational block too. Okay, and this just starts at 0, 0, 38. Okay, and I'll add a new line of code. This will be step 1 again, because remember, a new situation, and it just basically starts the whole line of code all over again. Very common is how I would describe it. Equals GTM. How would I describe my thinking for writing this? I could add more, but if very common block equals go to move, this is sort of a way to give myself enough hints to say, okay, well, yeah, it's very common that beginners would do this type of move. And it's always the go-to move because this is what you, this is how you got started in learning the armbar from guard as a beginner. Maybe I need to do and add a situational. So it works in this situational if you are a complete beginner and doing an armbar on another complete beginner. Okay. That's how I interpret it. Sometimes when I go back to look at the code again, I'll add more blocks to it if my brain forgets what this means right here. I can always come back and add more, but this should be enough to get me thinking about it, to make connections till I finally figure, oh yeah, that's the reason I wrote it this way, because it means this. Just want to let you guys know the difference between plus and the equal sign. So plus signs are used as a way to express the combining of blocks together to guide the visualization and thinking into the right direction. And equal signs are a way to indicate an outcome of the block, carrying over a single idea or combinations of ideas together to guide the visualization and thinking of them to the main idea or bigger picture. I hope that description is enough for you guys to get what I mean.
Or something like this. Okay,
Okay, situational equals continue from there. And he said, I remember he just said that it's not gonna cut it once you kind of start rolling with more advanced people like blue belts, purple belts, brown belts, so on. Is less than anticipated opponent equals OC. So this is how I would express that information. The less sign right here. So anytime I write a less than sign or greater sign, these are used as a way to indicate a conflict and relationships between the blocks. This less sign supposed to represent that it will probably be ineffective, and AO is the anticipated opponent. So I'm thinking, well, it's less effective when an opponent who's more skillful, and the equal sign is to convey the outcome that leads to OC, meaning option canceled. So meaning, yeah, like my option's canceled. This basic armbar technique is not gonna cut it.
1-1 grip, where I take an over grip on my training partner's elbow, put a hand on my training partner's wrist, and we work from here. Now in a beginner's class, this is just fine because your opponent doesn't know enough to escape. But at advanced levels, this is not going to cut it because there is no control of my opponent's head. Okay? Even if I did succeed in bringing my opponent's elbow towards my center line, as his head rises, it becomes impossible for me to control the head. And
okay, so let's add option canceled. Reasons why, because he just said that it'll be hard to you can control the arm, but if my opponent head is towards, it'll become possible to or difficult to execute using this basic armbar from guard. Equals MD 2, make distance 2 plus keep away 2, and I'm gonna add parentheses. So let me explain what I just wrote again. Make distance 2. Well, anytime I write a 2 in any block, right? That's supposed to indicate that that's what my opponent's doing. So I'm thinking about my opponent's situation. If I was in their shoes, and what would they do? Okay. Parentheses signs are used as a way to group the blocks together when necessary, combining all the blocks together into one that are between the parentheses. This is to help the organization of thinking, especially when it comes to making linking blocks, which I will explain later on in the video.
And his elbow starts moving away from my hips, and we lose the whole position. Okay. So there's a sense in which I've got to control his head. That's the key to controlling his posture. But at the same time, I've got to bring his elbow towards my center line. So ideally, what we want is two kinds of control. Control of the head and his elbow. I want to take his elbow towards my center line, and I want to bring his head down. Ideally, I'm looking to put his head, his forehead in particular, directly over his elbow.
Okay. So where did we start it off at? 122.
Elbow. I want to take his elbow.
Okay, so ST3 and new timestamp is 00. Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, that's 122. Step 1 plus. So this is how I'm gonna make my linking blocks. And remember, linking blocks are used as a way to link specific steps and sections of blocks together with other steps and sections throughout the code. So if I have a line of code that I want to continue my thinking from, or branch off from, linking blocks will help me do that. So I'm gonna continue it off from situation 1 and this line of code right here. So this is how I would write it. This is where I want to continue my thinking and visualization. Step 1, section 1, and every block is included in that line of section. Sections are part of a step. They are lines of code. Any line of code that doesn't have a step block in front of it automatically falls under the step block above it. Sections are like branches to a tree. So the first section is always the line of code with a step block in front of it. Hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, I'm continuing my thinking from here, and that's how I would show that.
His elbow towards my center line, and I want to bring his head down. Ideally.
Okay. Goal is, okay, so he wants to bring the arm to the center line and hold the head down to that arm. So how I would describe that? So hold towards plus sweet spot plus HD plus, okay, and HD is hold down. So you get the idea that I'm holding down this arm plus pull towards plus sweet spot plus hold down is, and this is equals prefer position. Okay, so this is how I would interpret the knowledge that I've been giving so far.
I'm looking to put his head, his forehead in particular, directly over his elbow. That's the ideal. Okay, will you always be able to get that? No, but you want to get as close as you can. That's the ideal that you're striving for. Ultimately, what I want to do is I want to ensure
goal plus ideal for ID. I think I used this specific blocks to mean something else before, but again, I can always go back. There's a lot of blocks I created that I saved up on my notes, all these abbreviations, and sometimes I get them confused, but I can always go back. Ideal, I probably have that already, but I think this is how I would how I interpret it as. So maybe I can just say IDE, ideal.
At all times, Placido's elbow goes inside my hip. That's the minimum requirement, okay? So the best is when the elbow goes at least to my center line, and the very best is where it goes across the center.
Oh, okay. I do want to take that kind of in consideration.
Placido's elbow goes inside my...
Okay, 147. Ideal equals sweet spot equals better position. Less than ideal equals sweet spot equals better position plus MS for more stronger. And less than minimal requirement. Well, he said something about the hips again.
My hip. That's the minimum requirement.
Okay. Okay, I'll do a greater than and then another less than. And this is to, you know, these two are more ideal, but you know, this also works. This is how I use the less than and greater sign to indicate that conflict or relationship. Better than nothing. So BTN is the minimal requirement. MRQ, minimum requirement, is how probably a new block that I just created. I'll try to keep note after. Equals sweet spot plus IL. IL is in line, so it better be at least in line with my hips.
Requirement. Okay, so the best is when the elbow goes at least to my center line, and the very best is where it goes across the center line. That's almost guaranteed to score you arm bars. But the minimum requirement is that his elbow must be inside my hip. Okay, if I cannot do
inside or in line,
that, then realistically you can't really expect to hit arm bars on good people. If his elbows stay outside my hips, strong elbow, well, I can't turn and pivot and get the angle.
Okay. So that was 214 right there. Okay, let's try to do another linking block. So continue from here. So it's S3 dash, it's from step 1 dash section 2. Every block, okay, remember again, step 1 is always the first section right here. And then the second section of step 1 is this code, because again, it does not have a step block in front of it, so it automatically falls under the step 1 block. It's greater than anticipated opponent equals, I'm gonna put a parentheses, part hold towards plus sweet spot and 2 to indicate that's what my opponent is doing equals warning. So that's the warning. Don't let your opponent pull their elbow outside your hips. That's pretty bad.
The angle that I need to get into an armbar. So everything we need to do is bound up the idea of bringing the elbow towards the center line. And the minimum requirement, once again, to get the elbow inside my hip. At the same time, I've got to control his head, so he can't just posture up and away from me. And I...
Hold on, give me a second.
At the same time, I've got to...
Okay, yes. This is what he's indicating about step 1 when he says pull towards, sweet spot held down. I definitely should add another linking block to pull towards. That's intentional. Ideally, these two things. Yeah, let me connect this line of code to this block right here. ST3 dash step 1 dash section 1 dash. Okay, and now this is a perfect opportunity to show you guys how I would count the blocks. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4. The fourth block is what I'm looking at. Oops. Fourth block, yeah, equals that. Yes. Let's just make into a, no, let's just keep it like that. Actually, yeah, it would make sense. It would be another step block. So let's see, I'm gonna change step 2, section 1, every block. And then that's when we can start with step 3. So when did he start holding his head down?
The elbow inside my hip. At the same time, I've got
228. New timestamp. And in a way, I'm a little autistic, so doing this type of note taking helps me be engaged and stay focused throughout the whole process that I do it. So that's why. Step 3, and we're gonna do a linking block from, because to express this. Okay, situational 3 dash section 1 dash. So it's the 5th block right here. So 5B. Okay, that should do it. Goes keep safe and secure plus pull towards equals PRP. And I should add a PRP to the section 2 as well. Equals PRP.
Got to control his head, so we can't just
Pull towards equals, he just said control. I have a block abbreviation for that. Control for CON.
Up and away from me. And ideally, I would like to bring his head directly over his own elbow. That's going to make it very easy for me to throw up a top lock and bind my training partner into place. And now you can see the results.
Okay, so 239 is when he actually throws up his legs. So step 4 plus take opportunity equals let go plus go over plus keep safe plus go over plus keep safe equals RECs equals halfway equals preferred position.
Results of our work. I have put his elbow very obviously inside my hip. If he tried to take his elbow outside my hip, it would run directly into my inner leg and hamstring muscles. And
okay, yes.
Obviously, inside my hip.
247, and this will be a section that's part of step 4. This falls under step 4 to give more idea of why this works. Reasons why block equals reasons why plus RESC plus more secure equals no, it's greater than anticipated moment equals parentheses pull towards 2 pull towards plus pull. I actually just make it into 1. It's equals those option cancel 2. So how I interpret this line of code, reasons why this works right here, because it restrains, it's more secure, and it's greater than my opponent from pulling his arm to get freed up. And that outcome is equal to option cancel 2. Now my opponent can't pull his arm out that easily.
If he tried to take his elbow outside my hip, it would run directly into my inner leg and hamstring muscles, and it's not going to move. So it's locked in place now. I haven't just gotten the position.
Locked in place. I should definitely have that be part of equals locked in place. Lip. All right. Yeah, that's a new block.
I'm now holding it courtesy of this top lock. And from here, it's going to be relatively easy for us to make.
All right. So from there, 305. 305. Step 5. Oops, forgot this. Step 5 plus take opportunity equals. So I just saw him put his hand under these legs. Transition plus go under plus keep safe plus pull towards plus let go plus create angle plus equals preferred position.
Maintain the position we want. Get our lower back up off the floor and then throw our legs into place and get.
Okay, and then the last part, 309. Okay, 309. Step 6 plus take opportunity equals go over. Wait, hold on. yeah, go over plus keep safe equals better precision plus ATT, attack. And there you go. I'm gonna add prefer. Okay, so in line, because he said like a 90-degree angle. So when I think of that, I think, okay, I'm in line of a 90-degree angle, if that makes sense. So that's how I interpret this line of code so far.
For us to go over the top and get downward pressure on our training partner's head. From here we have the option of finishing from bottom or putting the man over and finishing from on top.
Yeah, and since I'm attacking, anything can go. Either he gets submitted from the guard or he falls over, and yeah, I just continue from there to try to execute and finish the armbar. Okay, I think this video is already done.
But the key element I want you guys fixating on is this idea that if we're going to enter into Judo-Gatame from bottom position, we've got to do a good job of controlling the head, bringing the elbow to the center line, with the ultimate goal, the minimum goal, of putting his elbow inside my hip. Once it's inside the hip, trust in your top lock to keep it there long enough to get the pivot.
Okay, that's good. All right, so after I finally converted all this information that I learned from this video tutorial right here into this code form, having the new information fresh in my head to prevent this new information from spoiling, the last process I do is that I use the Anki gap to help me review and increase my retention of the information by using a method called spaced repetition. That way I don't have to worry about forgetting what I just memorized. It could be weeks to months to even years. It wouldn't matter, because this method will help make sure I won't forget it in the long run, as long as I'm consistent with it, of course. I'll add this right here. That's perfect. Okay, so how I review the information is that whenever I open my Anki app, whether it's on my computer or smartphone, I immediately, so right here, study now, I immediately reveal the back of the card and start trying to read and decipher the code. So the whole process that if I'm able to read and decipher the code that I find satisfying enough, I increase the interval. And if you can see right here, it goes again, 15 minutes, it will come back to show me the card again. Hard, 1 day, good, 1 day. There's more to reasons why these two are both 1 days, which I'm not gonna explain in detail. There's like an algorithm that you can customize and set up for yourself, and I set my algorithm for how I want to use spaced repetition my own way. So just don't mind this too much. But yeah, if it's good 1 day, if it was hard 1 day, if it's good 1 day, and if it's super easy, the card will not show up until 4 days later for review. And so again, if it's a satisfying review, I increase the interval. If I fail to read and decipher this code right here, completely forgot what it means, or I'm missing a couple of information, my knowledge to be able to read some of the line of code effectively, then I decrease the interval, and sometimes back to even day 1 again. And so far I found great results with using this method of spaced repetition to help me review my knowledge on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tutorials. So that's basically how I can explain it. And so far, I'll try it again. I'd say I'm pretty confident that it's good. And there you go. That's how I review the information. All right, guys, that's really it for the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.